Have you ever wondered if there is a key to unlocking the immense, untapped spiritual power that seems just beyond reach? Imagine if this key was not some elaborate ritual, but something ancient, simple, and misunderstood. Fasting. Fasting, an act that goes against the natural rhythm of our daily lives, holds profound spiritual significance. It bridges the tangible world we navigate daily and the profound, unseen world of divine connection. Let's embark on a journey to uncover the depths of fasting, shedding light on its mysteries and dispelling misconceptions, revealing how this timeless practice can transform your spiritual life. At its core, fasting is an intentional act of denying the body's most basic physical desire, food. This denial creates space for something greater, a connection with God that transcends the limitations of the physical world. In our modern society, we are inundated with routines that revolve around food. From the moment we wake up, we're encouraged to prioritize breakfast as the most important meal of the day. Nutritional wisdom teaches us the benefits of eating 3 balanced meals daily, ensuring that our bodies are fueled for peak performance. Yet fasting asks us to defy this deeply ingrained pattern, choosing a path less traveled for the sake of a higher purpose. The practice of fasting is not new. It is steeped in the traditions of faith, notably rooted in the Bible. In the Old Testament, fasting was a communal act of reflection and repentance. Consider the Day of Atonement, or Yom Kippur, a solemn day where faithful Jews fasted in obedience to God's command. This wasn't just an act of refraining from food. It was a sacred ritual where the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies to make atonement for the people's sins. This day called for introspection and reverence, with fasting serving as a physical expression of their spiritual submission. It was a day to reflect deeply on salvation and the mercy of God, a tradition that continues to echo in modern spiritual practices. Fast forward to the New Testament, and Jesus himself addresses the practice of fasting. In Matthew 6 verses 16 to 18, he instructs his followers not to disfigure their faces or draw attention to their fasting. His words carry a profound message. Fasting is not a performance for others, but a deeply personal offering to God. When done with sincerity, fasting becomes a secret act of devotion seen only by the Father, who rewards in kind. Through these teachings, Jesus emphasized that fasting was not about outward appearances, but about aligning one's heart with God. The spiritual significance of fasting lies in the act of sacrifice. By temporarily giving up the nourishment and pleasure food provides, you open a door to divine intimacy. It is not the deprivation itself that moves God, but the heart behind the sacrifice. When fasting, one enters a state of dependence on God, a posture that says, "I need you more than I need my daily bread." This act of humility and devotion captures God's attention in a unique and powerful way. However, fasting is not without its challenges. For those unaccustomed to the practice, the mere thought of going without food can be daunting. Concerns arise. Will I be able to endure the hunger? What if I fail? In our culture of instant gratification, where even the slightest discomfort is swiftly remedied with a snack or energy drink, fasting requires a mental and spiritual fortitude that many find intimidating. There's also the fear of judgment or misunderstanding from others. Will people think I'm strange for fasting? These concerns, while valid, fade in the light of a clear and pure intention to draw closer to God. Biblical history is rich with examples of fasting done with profound purpose. Ezra called for a fast among 4,000 people to seek God's guidance. Esther united her people in fasting before approaching the king to save her nation. These moments of collective fasting illustrate its power as both a personal and communal act of faith. Even today, events like the National Day of Prayer and Fasting may call Christians to join together, seeking divine intervention for their lives and their nation. Fasting is not just about abstaining from food. It is a discipline with layers of spiritual depth. Like prayer, it is an exercise that strengthens faith and sharpens one's spiritual focus. Jesus taught that fasting can enhance the power of intercessory prayer, likening it to scaling a mountain, a task that requires both physical and spiritual stamina. Just as an athlete trains for endurance, believers grow stronger through the practice of fasting, becoming better equipped to face spiritual challenges. For beginners, it's essential to approach fasting with a mindset of grace and progression. A first fast doesn't need to be long or extreme. It could be as simple as skipping one meal with the intent of dedicating that time to prayer. The sincerity of your heart matters far more to God than the length or intensity of your fast. Imagine fasting as a proposal of devotion to God. It's not the grandiosity of the gesture, but the authenticity of the heart that matters. Historically, fasting has taken many forms, each with its unique purpose and approach. Absolute fasting, where one abstains from both food and water, is intense and usually reserved for moments of great spiritual need or crisis. A normal fast, the most common type, involves abstaining from solid foods while consuming liquids. Then there's the partial fast, such as the Daniel fast, which limits specific types of food and drink. Each type carries its own spiritual significance, and the choice of fast often reflects the purpose behind it. The method of fasting matters less than the heart and intention driving it. As you embark on a fast, it's important to plan and prepare. Consider your physical capabilities, schedule, and motivations. Fasting should never be done recklessly or as a test of willpower. Instead, it should be a deliberate act of faith, supported by prayer and reflection. Writing down your reasons for fasting can be a helpful tool, serving as a reminder of your commitment and a source of encouragement during challenging moments. Fasting doesn't have to be a solitary endeavor. Partnering with a friend or loved one can add an element of accountability and mutual encouragement. Shared fasting creates a bond, much like climbing a mountain with a companion. Together, you can share the struggles and victories, making the journey not only bearable, but deeply rewarding. The joy of completing a fast with others amplifies the spiritual insights and blessings gained through the experience. At the heart of fasting lies the question, why am I doing this? A clear purpose transforms fasting from an act of deprivation into a meaningful spiritual journey. Whether seeking divine guidance, interceding for others, or simply longing for a deeper connection with God, your why becomes the anchor that sustains you through the challenge. Like David facing Goliath, a purpose rooted in faith gives you the courage to overcome obstacles and persevere. Fasting is an invitation to align your spirit with God, to step away from the distractions of daily life and focus entirely on Him. It is not about impressing others or earning God's favor, but about cultivating a posture of humility and dependence. Through fasting, you discover that God's grace is sufficient, that His presence is more satisfying than any meal, and that His rewards far surpass anything the world can offer. As you conclude your fast, take a moment to reflect on what you've gained. Celebrate the spiritual growth, the answered prayers, and the deeper intimacy with God. Fasting is not the end, but a step toward a transformed life, one that seeks God not just in moments of need, but in every moment. In the sacred rhythm of fasting, you find a connection that nourishes the soul, a discipline that strengthens the spirit, and a practice that draws the divine into the everyday. May your fasting journey be one of revelation, renewal, and profound spiritual joy.